Devlin, Untamed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Platform.
Hi, West of Tony Sport, Martin Devlin, Auckland. We are back in Auckland. We're back in our studio. Been away covering the Rugby World Cup for the best part of a calendar month. Boots on the ground then. And what a weekend of sport to celebrate. The Kiwis just kicking kangaroo butt. But then there's the Black Ferns getting smacked up by England. Oh, yes, we're still the world champs. We can't be calling ourselves the best team in the world right now. How the hell do you lose a cricket game when you score 400 plus runs, Black Caps? And are we still going to qualify for the semi-finals? We will cover all three of those, plus a big moan Monday. Monty Betham on the show. Brad Wald with an Australian perspective on the Kangas loss. Matt Gunn will be positive, and Rahul Patil out of India. Lots to do as always. What do we learn from the weekend? As always, I begin the program, tablets in hand. I say, gather my flock. It is time for a sermon. What do we learn from the big weekend of sport? Let's go to the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
So what do we learn from the weekend sport then? We learned at least 4 different things. Number 1, the Kiwis are the best international rugby league side in the world right now. Right now. Number 2, the Black Ferns are no longer the best international women's rugby team in the world. Number 3, it is possible to lose a one-day cricket match after posting a score of 400 plus. How the hell did we do that? And number 4, Adam Whanua-Blake loves living in Auckland. Well, today he does. This story could very much change by this afternoon, though. When it does emerge that once again it needs to leave immediately for compassionate family reasons to go back to Sydney. That's until tomorrow when he doesn't. But then by Wednesday night, it could all change again until Thursday. Yeah. The Kiwis, though, magnificent. What a brilliant result that was. 30-0, a new record in terms of points differential. 24-0, the best previous under Bluey McLennan way back in 2005. Saturday night was a walloping, all right. The Kiwis simply magnificent. What does it mean? Well, it means we beat Australia. We thrashed them in a rugby league test. Other than that, not a great deal, really. They're still the world champs, but we've just beaten them in the biggest thrashing ever. Celebrate. Same with the Black Ferns. Yes, we get to keep the title of being world champions, but right now, very clearly, we are not the world's best women's rugby team. And added to that, and also quite clearly, you take the words World Cup out of the sport, and New Zealand crowds don't turn up to watch women's rugby or soccer, just like they didn't turn up before the 2 World Cups were played here. So what does that tell us? Well, what it tells us is that the mainstream media narrative we've been force-fed for the last 12 months is as big a load of BS as I've been saying for the last 12 months. Finally, again, back to the cricket. How the hell do you lose a one-day after belting 400 plus? Only the Black Caps could have conspired to blow that game. Cricket is all as well, you know, as much about taking wickets as it is about scoring runs. And until we start doing that again and breaking these partnerships up, well, the tournament and our future in it looks about as solid as Trent Bolt's bowling does at the moment. And maybe those two are actually connected because we can't seem to take any wickets and neither can he.
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The Platform.
112 headlines, sports headlines, Lachlan.
Yes, where to start? Where to start? We'll start with rugby. We've heard, of course, on top of our news there, that All Blacks captain Sam Cane has been cited following his red card in the Rugby World Cup final and will appear before the Judicial Committee, World Rugby have announced. It's come a bit late, hasn't it? It's like over a week ago that game was.
I would have thought he would have faced it last Tuesday, maybe.
Yeah, why now?
Well,
Did they wait till he got home?
Yeah, every chance.
Waited for the hurt of that defeat to die down. Meanwhile, Welsh rugby legend Lee Halfpenny has signed a 1-year contract to join the Crusaders. This will be under new head coach Rob Penny. This just days after making his final appearance for Wales against the Barbarians in Cardiff. Virat Kohli has marked his 35th birthday with his 2nd century of the Cricket World Cup in India, and Ravindra Jadeja claiming 5 wickets as the host thumped South Africa by 243 runs in a contest featuring the top 2 teams in the tournament. This at Eden Gardens, India. Still unbeaten. Is it 8 wins or 7? 8 wins from 8 so far.
8 from 8, yep.
And you played 10, don't you, in total? Would you? No, you play 9.
9.
Yeah, you play 9. So they've only got 1 match left, India. So they're absolutely coasting. South Africa sits second, Australia third, New Zealand are fourth. We are 4-4, of course, 4 straight defeats against the other teams in the top 5. So we can't beat the big guns, though that loss in the weekend was a bit unfortunate, thanks to DLS. All right, motorsport. Red Bull's triple world champion Max Verstappen has taken a record-extending 17th win of the season in Brazil. Yada, 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 yada. Leading a red-flagged and restarted Sao Paulo Grand Prix from pole position. The Breakers' tough start to the Australian NBL season continues. They've lost to the Sydney Kings 87-85 in a rematch of the previous finals series. The Breakers are 2-5 to start the season. Not good at all for them. Premier League, couple of games on today. Liverpool, very disappointing result away to Luton. 1-1 in the end. They got an equaliser through Luis Diaz in stoppage time. Nottingham Forest beat Aston Villa 2-0 earlier on over the weekend. Newcastle beating Arsenal in very controversial fashion. Man City thumping Bournemouth. That result was 6-1. Man United beating Fulham. And if you look at the table, Man City now back on top with 27 points. They're 1 point ahead of Spurs, who play Chelsea tomorrow morning, so Spurs could take back top spot with a win. Liverpool are third on 24 points. They're tied with Arsenal, and they're both 2 points ahead of Villa, who are in 5th. Newcastle in 6th. They're 2 points behind Aston Villa. Former tall fern Megan Compain, I hope I've pronounced that right, Compain. She's landed a key role with the All Blacks, that role being replacing the long-serving manager Darren Shand, who was in the role for 19 years. Darren Shand was there in the end. He'll be replaced by 2 new arrivals, that being Megan Compain, who was appointed as the All Blacks commercial manager, according to Chris Lentram. The other role, Highlanders team manager Paul McLaughlin, who has also worked with the Wallabies in recent years, he'll be the next team manager. And just finally, some really good news for one of our up-and-coming golfers from Taranaki. Sam Jones has reached the final stage of qualifying for a card on the prestigious DP World Tour, finishing 4th in the second stage of the Q School tournament at the Fontanals Golf Club in Spain, that seeing him qualify for the final stage. For the time being, Martin, that's what's making news.
Devlin.
Oh my goodness me!
The platform.
30-0. Get that. 30-0. I don't know whether you can remember when Bluey McLennan coached the Kiwis to a 24-0 win over the Kangaroos. Wow, that was a result. And then back in 2014, 2015, we beat them 3 times in a row. And you kind of think, yeah, we got the upper hand. They always bounce back, though. They're a bit like the Aussie cricket team, aren't they? When you beat them, and when you beat them well, you got to put the boot in, because you know they're a cockroach and they're coming clawing back. Kiwi selector Monty Betham joins us. How good was that?
Oh, understatement. You can't even just sort of capture how you feel about a win like that by saying how good was that. It was bloody amazing. The best ever in terms of a Kiwi victory, and especially over the world champions. They've had their biggest loss in history, which was huge, man.
So what do you put it down to? Because a week beforehand, we didn't look at any point likely to be able to play like that. What happened?
It's always weird when you play a team back-to-back in consecutive weeks. The result can change, and often does, but it doesn't change by that margin. The week before, they lost by just over 20 points, and, you'd be forgiven for feeling they're going to the grand final or the final a week later, that you wouldn't be too confident about your team's chances. But especially when you think about the Australians who had rested a couple of their premier props in the middle of the field, and Payne Haas and Saul Maliawi, but they came back in. They were pretty confident. They had one man down in Murray. But, from the start, this Kiwi side had a lot to prove. And, that was off the back of a really staunch, strong performance from the new captain, who's not done a thing wrong in the last few seasons. And that's James Fisher-Harris. He's been a fine leader.
Every player played well, though. I mean, how rare is that? I mean, you've been at the highest levels of the game, and every game that you've played where everyone turns up and everyone is playing to the peak of their abilities.
Well, you need it. You definitely need that. And to say it is one thing, but it's not often it happens. And we've seen some, and the years be some iconic victories against Australia. But for the people that were there, present for that, and for me calling it with Glenn Lummer and other people that have watched it live, there has not been one better. They'll be as good as not any win, and it was one to cherish. There was 4 debutants that were playing, not just in that game, but in terms of new in this series. Matt Tomoko, Leo Thompson, who just didn't look out of place, and good to see the boy from Greymouth, Griffin Nairn, getting across the line and showing some wonderful talent. And of course, Fa'amana Brown, who since has been talking about social media and about dreams coming true, and playing with his icons and legends, and it was a complete performance. But in social media building up in that morning, I could see that the team going out for the walk, and they didn't really look like they were on. They didn't really look like they were enjoying each other's company, because as we know, the Kiwis do get better when they spend time in camp.
Yeah, there's the next question, and nicely leading into it, I was going to ask you, so these one-off test matches as opposed to playing a tournament, does that work in our favour more than the other teams, do you think?
Well, it hasn't worked for us in the past, and that's often because the Australians come off, like an Origin series, or they've been in camp with their, with their state, which helped them, and they've played at that level, three series against mate versus mate, which gets them up. And but really, that's why the Anzac Test of old was always a bit of an ambush, because the Kiwis come in there not having played together against some Aussies that were battle hardened, wearied, and ready from what they did in Origin. So, look, I think in time the Kiwis are going to be playing as many games and test matches as possible, but they do get better as the time goes on, that's for sure.
Monty Betham is with us, 9 tests for the Kiwis, 2001 to 2006. This tournament then, it comes again next year. The future of International League, how do we build upon this? Because the sub part of that is that the crowd wasn't as big as what anyone was expected, and that's got to be disappointing as well. So you've got to capture the public as well as winning these games.
You do. I think it'll help if you played in the right places. Although it was a beautiful evening, and it was on at 5 p.m, which was brilliant in terms of being able to showcase the talent. The conditions were perfect. There were people there. I'm not too sure what the official number was. It didn't seem like a hell of a lot, but there were people sort of on the outside were commentary, so it's hard to get a true understanding of the numbers. And you know what? I think ideally they wanted someone to be a part of the series as well. I imagine that, and I think that's why they had a triple header at Eden Park. If you've got Tonga, you've got Samoa, you've got Australia and New Zealand. I think that's how you grow the game, when you get a lot of the best teams in the one place and playing each other, for a period of time. But it was disappointing for a number of reasons. One, because the boys deserved to have that crowd out there. And two, the crowd missed out on being able to witness that. But in saying that, there was a lot on the weekend, a lot of sport. And when you can stay at home and you can watch a number of sports happening at the same time, it makes it a little bit too easy.
Monty Betham with us. At what stage during the game did you feel safe? Because whenever I've been watching the Kiwis Kangaroos probably a little longer than you, because I'm just a bit older, that's all. But, I never feel safe when I'm playing them bastards. I never feel safe. What it's like.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I was feeling pretty good about the side, even when they went to the break at half time. But I thought Australia were going to come out. They're going to come out firing, and they tried. They looked pretty clunky early on, and then they looked flustered just before the break. So this is uncharacteristic of Australia. I don't know why, which was the strength the week before. When you got Payne Haas and Tino Fa'asua-Maleaui coming back in. And they're playing and them using their forward strength, which has been dominant of the Kiwis the week before. I found it really, really weird. Maybe they got a little bit too complacent, but I know they may have started that way. But the way the Kiwis were ferocious and how they played through the middle and really had a point to prove after not a real embarrassment, but the scoreline didn't work in their favour the previous week. And being at home, I tell you what, because the last time they won at home was, 2017-18.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. Moan. I'm moaning sick all the time. Oh, yeah, I got a moan on, all right. It's Monday, I got a moan on. It's all about the Black Ferns and the absolute and utter refusal of the mainstream sports media and New Zealand rugby to acknowledge what is going on in front of all of our eyes. The truth is, the women's game here in New Zealand has gone nowhere since winning last year's Women's Rugby World Cup. That is now as clear as England's victory was at Mount Smart Saturday night. Where is this growth explosion we were all bombarded with last year? The future of the game, now more popular than the All Blacks, was one garbage piece I read at the time on News Hub. Huge crowds, overwhelming interest, so much enthusiasm and nationwide support for the product, we were told. Well, where is it? 3 consecutive weekends, 3 no-shows in terms of crowds. This isn't the World Cup. This is back to reality with a thump. women's rugby in this country captured the imagination and the public for the duration of that World Tournament, and that is it. Just like no one is turning up to watch the Phoenix women's play, that's despite record crowds at the Women's Football World Cup just months ago. So what is going on? Where are all the fans who followed those teams at those events? And where are all the feminist screaming journalists who should be acknowledging the reality and admitting the truth? You hear that? You see, that sound there is the sound of silence. That's refusing to admit when you are wrong. And that sound is also the sound of no spectators. Just 3,000 pre-sales for England versus the Black Ferns at Mount Smart on Saturday night. That was a repeat of last year's World Cup final, which sold out at Eden Park. 8 corporate boxes only, sold out of 40 at Mount Smart. The numbers don't lie. The viewing figures don't lie. The sparse crowds in attendance don't lie. That is, in fact, the only truth here. And it's high time New Zealand Rugby and all their sycophantic, giggly, political agenda-peddling mainstream sports newsrooms admitted it. Women's rugby has not captured the public like we were told that it has. There is no growth explosion like we were told it was happening. Women's rugby does not have this wholesale nationwide support. It is still very clearly, very obviously, a battling, fledgling and minority sport.
Devlin,
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
the platform.
One day cricket, we got one match to go in this tournament. Well, we're hoping we got more than that, but we got one match which we have to win. Well, we might not have to win. Then the calculators come out. And remember when the calculators came out last time, what happened? Well, yeah, we lost the final to England because they'd eaten more toast than us that morning or something equally stupid. Well, Rahul Patil is our man on the ground in India. His thoughts on where the Black Caps are right now. And is Trent Bolt going to turn up and be Trent Bolt, or is he going to keep playing like that guy that calls himself Trent Bolt? India, 326 for 5, and then skittling the South Africans for 83. What's the reaction been to that result?
Absolutely sensational result, and nobody is surprised because right throughout this World Cup, the Indians have been dominating like anything. Couldn't have been a better day for India yesterday. It was Virat Kohli's 35th birthday. He comes into bat, scores a century, equals Sachin Tendulkar's record for the highest number of one-day international centuries in one-day cricket. And India post a big total and then skittle out South Africa for less than 100. Now, the telling stat in all this is India scored 91 in their first 10 overs. The South Africans couldn't manage to go past that in their entire innings.
Wow.
How's that for a stat?
That's a great stat, isn't it? Look, I want to ask you all about run rates and things, but just back to Kohli. When Sachin retired with, I think, was it 51 test centuries, I think it was, and 49 one-dayers. I think he had 100 centuries. But,
That's correct.
But no one thought that those records could be beaten. Well, here's Kohli, and he's got a chance at a World Cup to overtake that record. That's outstanding, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the man is just a run machine. He went through a bit of a lull for a couple of years in between, but ever since he's got through that difficult period, he's just seems like a man possessed. He's got one mission in life, that is to win India that World Cup, which unfortunately they haven't won a trophy since 2013. And for a team that has that much talent and that much resource, it's quite surprising that they haven't managed to win a ICC trophy. So yeah, everything he's touching right now turning to gold. So great news for India.
His batting average, people, 58.48 in ODIs. He's played 289 of them. So just rack that. 49 centuries, 70 half centuries, and he's already got 29 test centuries at an average of almost 50 as well. The pressure on India, though, Rahul, and, you know, I've watched that ESPN 30 for 30 documentary about Sachin in 2013, an outstanding documentary. But you're there, you're from India, you know, with 1 billion plus people desperate for you to win this. Try and just put that in some perspective for us, what Kohli faces.
It's difficult, but I'll try. Now, what he faces on a day-to-day basis is when he enters the hotel that the team is staying at, each and every staff member of that hotel will be saying, all the best. I hope you'll win the World Cup. I hope you'll win the World Cup. I hope you'll win the World Cup. When he goes into the team bus, when they turn up to any stadium, when there is any media interaction, the only talk, all for the duration of the World Cup is, I hope you all win the World Cup. So as much as in a Zen state that he might be, and he blocks himself out from all the outside noise, I'm sure it affects the players themselves and Kohli. But it's good that he's got that monkey off his back, because when everybody is waiting for that record to happen, it has happened. And I think he can just focus on his game. Another interesting stat is that Sachin took 452 one-days to get to that landmark of 49 centuries. Kohli's done it in 272.
Wow. Okay.
So it's just a phenomenal strike rate of his. And he's... at the end of the day, they've played 8, they've won 8. They've got one game to go against the Netherlands, and I'm pretty sure they'll win that too with the form that they're in, with no disrespect to the Netherlands. But come crunch time is going to be the knockouts, and that's where it'll be a true test of their character.
So disappointing. I had jet lag and I was watching that and I went to sleep and we'd got 400 or something, and I just thought we'd won the game. When I woke up, my partner said to me, Rahul, I had New Zealand win last night. I said, yeah. I walked around all day thinking we'd won, didn't look at a news website. It was only later in the day that, what? We didn't win that game? So talk us about Whaka's innings here, where he hit 98 in boundaries, 63 balls to get a century. I mean, was he that good, or were we bowling terribly?
I think it was a combination of both. He was in some rare, freakish form on the night, wherein everything that came off his bat came off the middle and went the distance. Some of those sixes, I kid you not, I know it's a small ground, but they were going on the second and the third tier, which tells you that, there'd be sixes on any ground on this world. But at the same time, of course, opposition batters are going to play well. They're there to play. It's your job as a professional cricketer to find ways of getting wickets. This is the third time in a row now. We had Warner and Head have a partnership of 175 against us in the game against Australia. We had Quinton de Kock and Rassie van Dusen get a partnership of 200 against us. And then in the last game, Fakhar and Babar got a partnership of 194 against us. And our bowlers have been clueless in trying to break that partnership. And I know it's a tough one because at the press conference, Ken, field placements, you need to ask your bowlers to bowl different lines, bowl different lengths, and try and upset the rhythm of the batter in some way or the other. But we didn't see much of that. I just felt for a moment that we were going through the motions when Fakhar was playing that innings, and we were just turning up and he was depositing us into the stands. No credit away from him. He played a freakish, phenomenal innings. The kind of innings that kind of kickstarts your campaign once again, and trust Pakistan to come back in a World Cup.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full.
The Tight Five.
Cover that in the Big Moan Monday, so we'll move on from it. 5 separate sporting issues, roughly a minute there or thereabouts on each. And when the bell, well, we move on to the next one. How significant that Kiwis win, Lachlan? Are the Black Caps still going to make the semis? Are the Black Ferns still the best side in world women's rugby, or are they just simply the world champions? Because we've had that argument before about being the best team in the world and being called the world champions. Eddie Jones, mate, in Cardiff overnight, says he's got another job starting very soon. Where in the world do you think that might be, Lachlan? Is anyone stopping India from winning the one-day World Cup because they are 8-8? And if we get time, Addin Fanua-Blake. Starts with an F and an L and rhymes with Blake. Was that a little flaky what he got up to last week? Or what the hell was it then when he wanted to stay, wanted to go, wanted to leave? I mean, you imagine pulling that stunt at home when you walk in the door. Sorry, darling, I'm leaving you. And then the next day, sorry, darling, I'm coming back. It kind of felt that it was all a little bit like that. Kiwis to start with, though, mate. After talking to Monty Betham and also Brad Walter in the first hour of the program, and again, all the highlights of the show available podcast form tonight, right about 5:30, Spotify, wherever you find your favourite podcast. How significant that win? Because we were at the Boozer watching it, Lachlan.
Yeah, we were. It was, well, okay, it was a spectacular victory. Never seen such a dominant performance from the Kiwis. And out of the blue, totally out of the blue, I remember back at the end of 2014 and the start of 2015, we had 3 straight tests against them, 2 of them part of the Four Nations, then one the Anzac Test, and we won all 3, and 2 of them very convincingly, and 2 of them actually were in Australia. And everyone was talking about, here we go, this is the time. The Kiwis are going to have a few years of dominance here. The Kangaroos' old guard is shifting out, and the Kiwis are on board. Sean Johnson's in his prime, and nothing happened because we ended up giving David Kidwell as a coach, and he didn't really work too many wonders at all, did he? So I will never get carried away by it. It's very significant. It gives us an indication that actually Michael Maguire and this crop of players have something to build off, and it's weird to say something to build off because Maguire's been in the role for about 5 years now. It is significant, but heck, it'd be like the Wallabies beating the All Blacks. You know, don't get carried away because normal order will resume at some point soon. The next time they play, we'll probably lose, and we'll probably lose maybe 5 of the next 6 and end up getting a win somewhere.
Okay, I concur with absolutely everything. I'm sitting here nodding my head to it. Okay?
I'm not saying don't celebrate. Let's celebrate.
Isolate, celebrate. Yeah. And that, to me, you know, if you're a New Zealand Rugby League fan, well, cock-a-doodle do it and message every single Aussie that you know and stick it hard. To me, I will just put 2 words alongside this, Black Caps. Because whenever the Black Caps beat Australia, I always think, oh my God, what's going to happen the next time we play them?
Yeah.
Right? And I kind of get that same feeling here. Having said that, I'm not taking anything away from the performance because it was remarkable. And it is very rare if you're a Kiwi Rugby League fan especially, i.e. a fan of our national team, not just of the sport, but a fan of our national team, you don't see that. I mean, I could count on the fingers of one hand the amazing performances that I've seen from the New Zealand Rugby League team over my lifetime. And that would probably be one of, if not the very best. What about the Black Ferns? What do we say about the Black Ferns? It was this time last year, Auckland, that they packed out Eden Park. They won the World Championship title off an England team that was down to 14 players.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Now that they've got 15, they come back down our place and they spank us, just like they did the year before the Rugby World Cup. So isolating the crowd stuff, we've talked about that already. We might revisit that a little bit later on the show. I'm just talking about the performance of this team. Where are we at then after losing to both France and England?
I think we're exactly where I thought we were, and it's now been confirmed that is where we are. Look, the big story going into, or one of the big stories going into last year's Women's World Cup was the fact that, yes, the Black Ferns might have, might have something to build off here with a really good coaching group and some good players, but the talk was always England are fully professional. I think France are more or less fully professional, if not almost there. So we're on the back foot against those teams, and then shockingly somehow won that semi-final against France when they missed that kick at the very end, and then we got out of jail a little bit with England's red card. But look, I'm a big Alan Bunting fan. I really like Alan Bunting. But I think objectively we can agree he doesn't have the experience, the nous, and the success at a rugby coaching level that Wayne Smith, Graham Henry, Mike Cron have.
Well, it's a reasonable triumvirate, isn't it, to actually add to your coaching group? Yeah, and that probably they plucked 3 of the biggest and best brains out to actually get that Black Ferns team over the line.
It's the rugby these players are playing outside of that World Cup. Since then, what have they played in? Opiki and Farah Palmer Cup.
Well, half of our team has been playing Mickey Mouse Sevens tournaments around the world.
Yes, the Ruby Tui's, the Stacey Flulas, all those players have been. And Stacey Flula was in France as part of NZR Plus,
that's
I
right.
think.
That's right.
She wasn't part of the team.
I know. That's right. Hello.
Maybe I've missed something there. Maybe she's actually not playing for them. I don't know, but
it's like the Super Rugby players in New Zealand who none of them want to play anymore, do they? They were just catching contracts and doing sabbaticals overseas.
But look,
first and foremost, New Zealand Rugby, you own the bloody contract.
Yeah.
Make them play.
It's a bit like, I think, what is starting to happen here with the All Blacks, that when the standard of the competition that they have here, and it's the only thing that they play in, our Black Ferns players, while that is at such a poor level compared to what the England and the French players have, you're not going to grow.
Yeah.
You're just not.
And that's reflected in those results. Are the Black Caps still going to make the semi-finals? And the sub part of that question is, who's that guy masquerading as a guy called Trent Bolt? When's he going to turn up at the tournament?
He had a good start to the tournament, didn't he?
Well, we played a really poor England side. Then we played the Netherlands, Afghanistan, and the Seychelles. I don't. We played Bangladesh, Holland, and Afghanistan. 3 teams that we should beat and you'd expect to beat at this tournament. Since then, we've played 4 big boys and we've lost every one of those. And I've watched Trent Bolt. no, he can't even catch a ball in the outfield at the moment. His feet are all in the wrong position. I watched him drop one the other night where he went for a right-handed catch, which was straight down his throat. I'm starting to wonder, when you start playing school kids and silly tournaments in the United States and Arab Emirates and wherever the hell he's been playing, you're not playing the regular professional competition that you need. He's arrived at this tournament and he looks completely underdone, doesn't he?
He does. Well,
He doesn't look as though he's up to the level of the
he looks
competition.
like someone who hasn't been playing in very high-level competitions
it.
overseas.
Simple.
So,
And look, we can't take wickets. I know we've had a hell of a lot of injuries, and you know, when you lose Matt Henry and you lose Lockie Ferguson, although Lockie Ferguson, when aren't you injured, mate?
yeah, no, he's always
Every
injured.
bloody tournament,
The-
mate.
I mean, the injuries are unfortunate.
But it's the same old song, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he's only bowling 10 overs at a time, mate. Every 5 days, and you still get injured.
So the good thing for the Black Caps is they've gotten Pakistan, South Africa, India, and Australia out of the way.
But
Now,
we're going to have to play one of them in the semis.
Well, hold up. All 4 were losses, yes, but they're out of the way. So the remaining 2 games are against who? Sri Lanka.
No, we've got one left.
No,
Yeah.
one else. We've played 8. Sorry, 1 left. Sri Lanka. We should beat them.
Yes.
And if we beat them, we go through.
Yes.
Look, we went through this 4 years ago. It was between us and Pakistan at the very end.
People forget this.
They forget that. And
How did we make it through last time?
Because we had a no result against India because
There
the
you
game
go.
was rained out.
And when we played them in the semi, what happened?
Well, we beat them.
It
well,
rained over 2 days.
Over 2
Okay.
days. So, look, as long as we get to the semis,
Then job done?
well, we've got India.
Yeah. Oh, God, okay, right. There you go. Okay, well, I mean, but the thing is that they're going to have a foot trip at some stage.
Actually, Australia have the same record as us, don't they? They're 4-4 as well.
South Africa is 6-2, and South Africa got poled by India last night. Absolutely poled. Eddie Jones, mate, says he's got another job, mate. I'll give you 3 guesses, mate.
I'd love it if it wasn't Japan.
What was that? What other job is available?
It'd be the most Eddie Jones thing. Well, what are JB Joseph and Tony Brown doing? You know where they could end up?
No.
The Wallabies.
No, there's no way. Absolutely.
not?
No, because, look, they're not dumb enough to do it, mate. You don't leave Japan and going, who would want to coach the Wallabies right now?
I don't know, someone who's just been coaching a pretty average Japan side?
That's that is the poison
They
chalice.
actually need an Australian doing the job.
Well, did they look? No one wants. Well, look, Robbie Deans, Dave Rennie. You don't want to join that list, mate. It is an international coaching career killer to go and coach the Wallabies. Where's Eddie Jones going to end up, ladies?
Japan.
Yes,
We know it.
And finally, Addin Whenua-Blake. Now, I love Addin Whenua-Blake. He was my player of the year. You know how much I rate this guy.
Yeah, you think he's as good as Payne Haas.
I do.
Which is total BS.
Okay, he didn't turn up for both of those semi-finals in a way that I think all Warriors fans wanted him to. He was so dominant and so consistent throughout the season. What the hell was going on last Thursday? And also, it's about time, Cameron George, you got to pull the handbrake up on this compassionate leave clause because every player is throwing it in. From that guy last year, Matt Dodge,
Matt
whatever he's played. Reece Walsh, they're all doing it. I need to run back to Sydney. The truth
hold up.
you're in Sydney 20 weeks a year anyway.
To be
you're
fair,
over there
hold
on
on.
holiday for 4 weeks at Christmas. How many times do you see your family? Is what, every second weekend, is it?
To be
They're
fair,
getting
hold
sick
on.
of you.
No, to be fair to Cameron George, they had a Zoom meeting and it changed from I want to go now to okay, I'll go next year. So he got a result there, Cameron George.
Okay, let's connect the dots here. What do you think happened here? This is how I think it went down. I know the compassionate leave and the parents clause was brought in. I'm not saying that that's a fake or a flake. What I'm saying is that the manager pulled a Swifty here. He got some big money put on the table from another club, and he says, right, I'm going to go, or I'm leaving, or my manager says I'm leaving, and then I think the Warriors stumped up a little bit extra to keep him. That's what I'm seeing and reading on this story.
Yeah, probably.
Or he needed to go and see his parents yesterday, and today he doesn't. And then tomorrow he does, and tomorrow he does. Oh, did I? No, what? Come on, man.
Well, he played for the Manly Seagulls for a while. And so he lived on Sydney's northern beaches with that lovely climate. And he's got a lot of... Because the reason he went to the Warriors was because his partner or his wife, I'm not too sure if they're married, sorry, her family were here. So that's why I think he came back in the first place. So he's probably missing what he once had. He's missing the climate. He's missing the friends. He's missing... Look, Australia...
He's over there 20 weeks a year.
Well, no, but here's the thing. Yeah, but look, Australia is better than New Zealand in pretty much every manner.
But
and
it's
when
not
you
like he
live
doesn't
there,
go there. He travels here every weekend,
yeah, but wouldn't
mate.
you want to be there every week of the year if you could?
Look, he's
If you're him.
If somebody else is offering me a crap load more cash, yes.
I think you'd probably do it on the same contract, to be fair. Nothing against that. And I think you're right about the money. Someone's absolutely probably gone after him.
Yes,
but
well, that's what happens in this business, isn't it? It's a professional business. Somebody actually, I could name 5 clubs. I could name Cronulla, the Bulldogs.
But you don't ask for that release unless you got something jacked up.
Well, that's
the thing.
That's it. He's not just going over there and saying, "I'm
and then
trying
kind of
my
handing
luck."
a CV out to all these different clubs.
Okay.
He's got a club lined up, which probably is offering more money. He's thinking more money, better city to live in. Look. The Warriors had a great season, but there's many clubs that didn't make the top 8 who are probably better set up to actually be in the finals next year. And he's probably looking at it as, I don't know, maybe maybe it was Cronulla, maybe they turned up, maybe the Bulldogs did. I don't know, but yeah, there's absolutely a club that's lined up, and they're probably offering more money.
Devlin.
Unbelievable! Incredible!
The platform.
For an Australian perspective on getting your pants pulled down and well and truly smacked, thwacked and bum shellacked. That's the Kiwis doing it to the Kangaroos on Saturday night, winning the Pacific Championship. What does it mean, though, from an Australian perspective? NRL.com's Brad Walter with his thoughts. What is Australia making of that record-breaking shutout by the Kiwis?
Oh, I think there's a lot of shock and a lot of disappointment at the performance, but mainly at the performance. Well, two things: the performance of Kangaroos, a lot of disappointment, and I suppose shock and surprise and criticism, and also though acknowledgement of how well the Kiwis played and what a great job Michael Maguire did in turning around the defeat from the week before and preparing them to win the game that really mattered, which was the final.
Yeah, explain to us, Brad, how can that happen in a week that, a team that both the fortunes of both teams change so dramatically?
I think that nothing motivates a team more than losing, and when you're playing the same team the following week, the things that you did wrong, I suppose the hurt from the loss and the disappointment is really fresh in your mind, and that really motivates a team. And obviously you can see what you did, the areas that you need to improve. As I said, they're fresh in your mind, and you can just basically go and work on them. You're playing the same team. The opposition is the same. I think that certainly makes it a lot easier. But also, it's just far more motivating. Whereas when you're the team that won, it doesn't have the same. It's a little bit harder to get up. You won, and you just think you've got to go and do what you did again. And I know that the Kangaroos would have been aware that the Kiwis would come out firing, but it's hard to. It's easier said than done, I suppose, to try and stop that. So, it was I don't think it certainly wasn't a deliberate ploy, but it certainly it's just set it up for an ambush, and that's exactly what happened.
Just dissecting the game a little, in your mind, what fundamentally went wrong for the Kangaroos? Well,
they were just never in it. They were never in it. The Kiwis' defence was fantastic. The Kiwis really targeted them on the edges. Everyone in the Kiwis, and I think this is when you play the Kangaroos, who are an absolutely world-class team over for more than a century now, a little bit like the All Blacks. When you play the Kangaroos, or to beat the Kangaroos, everybody in your team needs to perform at or near their best, and that's what happened. Everyone in that Kiwis team produced their best game, turned up, had their best game, and and they could obviously sense the opportunity there, and they didn't let it go. In fact, they just got better as the game went on. And I think also that teams, in particularly teams like New Zealand, and we saw it with Samoa at the World Cup last year, and Tonga at the 2017 World Cup, teams, they build as the tournament goes, and that's really what New Zealand did. Whereas the Kangaroos sort of have a bit of an advantage at the start because their players have played together at state of origin level, whereas the other teams like the Kiwis have got to come into camp, build those combinations and those relationships and make sure everyone's on the same page, and it can take a while to work it out. But, they worked it out when it mattered, and that's the beauty of, I suppose, it's the beauty of a tournament as opposed to a one-off test. It enables, coaches to really work with their players and really figure out, get the group tight together and figure out, their best way of playing and how to get the best out of each other.
What kind of fallout are we going to see from Mal Meninga and the Kangaroo players? There's already calls for Tedesco, for example, to be dropped. I mean, this was only a year ago this side won the World Cup. I mean, they've still got that title, haven't they, despite this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's only one defeat, and I think it's been a long time since the Kangaroos had actually lost the game. Well, it was 2019 against Tonga, also in New Zealand, but it's a long time since they've been beaten by New Zealand. Mal Meninga's got a great coaching record, but no doubt that there's pressure now on Mal, on the coaching staff, and the selectors, I suppose, to make sure that they get the team selections right. But there's also pressure now on all of the players who played because, they won the World Cup last year, and there was a certain amount of loyalty shown to the players that did that. But that's all out the window now. It's a fresh start, a fresh slate. Next season, you would expect that the Kangaroos, no one's position's safe, including James Tedesco, and the team's going to be picked on form. So I imagine that we will see quite a turnover of players. And as I said, James Tedesco's the captain and the fullback, and he's been a great player over a long period of time. But he's going to need to be back to his best next season, I would think, to keep his spot. If the likes of Reece Walsh and Kalen Ponga and those sort of players, Dylan Edwards, keep performing the way that they have, they're going to put real pressure on James Tedesco, and I think we'll see that with a number of players that were in the Kangaroos team, this year. That they're going to have to really perform, and they're going to have to earn their spots in the team on form and not on loyalty.
Every Monday on the program, LBP with TMG. That's Twizzle's Matt Gunn being super positive, but how can he be after watching his Kangaroos take it like that from the Kiwis? Then, of course, he can always poke the Borax at the Black Caps. What the hell was that about? How can you... We scored 400. I went to bed. I was asked by her the next morning, did the Black Caps win? I said, yeah, hell yeah, go. We scored 400. And then what? We lost? Let's try and be positive. Talking about being positive, let me revisit the fact, as we've just done on the show, that today in 1999, your Wallabies won the Rugby World Cup in Paris. Now, a generation later, mate, or actually, no, they didn't. They won it in Wales playing France. That's right. But a generation later, look at what's happened. I mean, that just goes to show, doesn't it, how, the administration can lose a whole sport. You're now probably in the worst position you've ever been in with Australian rugby, yet today in 1999, you were the world champs.
It's amazing how far backward we've gone in an era where the game itself has become more professional. And I struggle to understand it. I suppose the only good thing that came out of the World Cup was that Eddie wasn't going to resign, and then he decided that, okay, he probably will resign. We can clean house, I think, start fresh, start again. But I tell you what, it might be 2099 before we're close to winning it again. It's just a disappointing tournament for the Wallabies from go to woe. And when you can only beat Tier 2 nations, things aren't looking good. They're not looking good at all.
Well, let's be positive then about the Kiwi. Oh, that's right. So we've just put 30 points on you, mate. That's the record score since Bluey did it in 2005, 24-0. You're still the world champions, but that's a right smack across the chops, isn't it?
Oh, just an absolute downtrod. Not many people in attendance at the stadium in Waikato to see it, but the Kiwis were just tremendous. I mean, they hardly got anything wrong all day, and Australia, well, they were never in the game, and even when they looked to try and force the issue, the Kiwis' defence just had too much for them. And I tell you what, I was perusing the stats, as I often do after the game, and, there weren't too many penalties in the game, so it wasn't anything like that, but the Kiwis, they were just bigger and faster and stronger. They were more urgent. Their play the balls were much quicker. They made so much more ground every time with the ball. And they wanted it. I mean, and what a turnaround it was from the previous week. But, yeah, disappointing for the Kangaroos. They'll be a bit embarrassed about that because they didn't fire a shot. They didn't fire a shot. And the Kiwis had 60% of the ball, basically, and they did everything they needed to with it. Lucky it was only 30-0.
Let's be positive then about the Black Ferns, because it's pretty much a parallel situation here. Yeah, we can still be the world champions because we've got that title for another 3 years, until the next tournament rolls around. But yeah, it's kind of a little sour when you just get yourself a team beaten like that and then losing to France as well in this tournament and then getting absolutely towed by an England side who are probably sitting there now regretting the fact majorly that they lost a player in the World Cup final last year, because who knows what would have happened. But similar kind of situation. It's the end of the season, it's a long season and everything, but the result's still going to be significant, doesn't it, Matt?
Well, it's always significant when you're the world champs and you lose, just like the All Blacks know about. If you start to slide a little bit, people don't like it. 33-12, it was pretty convincing, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, good question. Pretty convincing scoreline, yeah, for sure. And performance.
Not as convincing as the Kiwis, but pretty convincing. I mean, I suppose the question is, Martin, why is no one talking about it like they were a little while ago?
Yeah.
Has the interest started to wane? And was the interest there because it was so front and centre for the World Cup period at home, and then once the glamour of a World Cup goes away, people are just like, all right, do we not care again?
How the hell do you lose a game when you hit 400 to start with? Well, you lose it when one of the other batters hits 98 boundaries, hits a century of 63 balls, and we can't seem to break up a partnership. Mate, has Trent Boult turned up at this World Cup yet? Because the guy that used to be Trent Boult was a guy that I thought would demolish most batting lineups, but this particular version of Trent Boult, and what we're seeing with that guy particularly, Matt, is that when you play clown T20s around the world, and that's what you do on a daily basis, you play school kid teams in the US and you play guys who have been rustled up from wherever in Abu Dhabi to actually form a team and things, you aren't getting the quality competition that you'd normally get. And has that been shown up now in his performances?
Well, it could be, but this has been a particularly strange tournament, hasn't it? And there are a number of players at this tournament that you may have thought would have performed a little better than they had, including the entire England squad.
Yeah.
Who have a win over Bangladesh, and then guess what?
That's it.
Nothing else.
No.
One win from 7 matches underneath Bangladesh, underneath the Netherlands, underneath Afghanistan, of all countries, Martin. This is the baseball bashing team that have played so well in recent times. And I even heard on the radio news last week, baseball is the hot new sporting term that's been placed into the dictionary.
Yeah, Constance Oxford apparently.
Well, there hasn't been much baseball at this Cricket World Cup. New Zealand should make the playoffs, right? Should. 4-4, 50%, 8 points. When do they play again, Martin? A couple more days.
Thursday they play Sri Lanka. Yeah, Thursday.
Yeah, they got Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka, you wouldn't say Sri Lanka is setting the world on fire, so you'd think that they will go through on that one. But are they playing good enough to win? Well, hitting 401 like they did the other day, you'd have to say 100%, and then they're Duckworth-Lewis. I mean, what's the Duckworth-Lewis? There's another name on there now too, by the way. Duckworth-Lewis and Latham or something like that, I don't remember. But how do you hit 401, losing only 6 wickets, and then give it up? Well, as you said, they couldn't take a wicket to save their lives. But a 21-run win by Pakistan, who already had 200 on the board when the Duckworth-Lewis came up at 180. I mean, how do they calculate this? Does anyone ever remember? I mean, how bizarre is that?
That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show, 1 till 4, Monday to Friday, download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do, though, is download the Platform app.
Devlin.
That is a disgusting act.
The Platform.